Crypto kids, welcome back to another video. And in today's video, Bitcoin is seeing a rejection from the $50,000 level, and there are multiple reasons why we shouldn't be panicking. Like, Bitcoin isn't going to go down to $18,000 now, but there are a few reasons why we may need to be a little bit more cautious. So that's exactly what we'll go into in today's video. We have the bearish divergence on the weekly time frame. We have the golden pocket that Bitcoin is right now in, and this could provide us with some good resistance. And finally speaking, there is an increase in correlation between the traditional markets and Bitcoin, and this is dangerous. So all of those topics we'll get into today. We had the CPI data being released, but we'll talk about this shortly. So for all of that and much, much more, make sure to stay tuned until the end of today's video. Leave a like, that would be very much appreciated, and subscribe if you haven't already to the Crypto Kid channel. But guys and girls, let's jump in straight to the Bitcoin TA, and then we'll get into the breaking news regarding the US CPI. Now, in the shorter term time frame, we can now see a more evident pattern forming, and that is the rising wedge. If Bitcoin does decide to reverse more, I am expecting a drop to, in the short term, the $46,900 level. And you know, if Bitcoin is deciding to create like a mini rejection here and then continue to see a pump, that could be a very nice support level on the short term time frame. And if we dip below that, then I believe 44.9 is also a nice level to correct back down to. That would be correlating simultaneously with the support line of this rising wedge. And at that point, if we break below it, it wouldn't be the best, of course. That could indicate lower prices, but this we will only get to once the Bitcoin price does decide to retest 44.9. Until then, we'll just leave the scenario as it is. When it, or if it does that, then we'll discuss the potential bearish targets on the short term. In the macro, it's not looking as great because Bitcoin is forming this bearish divergence. That is, the last time that we saw something similar was back in the start of 2021, the first phase of the huge bull market that we saw in the crypto markets. And following this bearish divergence, Bitcoin did correct approximately 40-ish%. I mean, if we take it from the median of these, highs, let's take it from here, Bitcoin did dump by 46% towards the downside following the bearish divergence. Am I saying something similar is going to happen? Not necessarily, but coming down to 34.5K would be awesome in terms of healthiness for the Bitcoin price, and we would still be creating a higher low, keeping that bullish uptrend, and at the same time, we would be increasing at a healthy rate. So 34.5K would be awesome, and that's the point where I'm going to go all in with my Bitcoin spot holdings on my personal account, and of course the account that we have for the channel, the $10,000 trading challenge that is split between spot and derivatives. Currently, we still have this long position open. I just put the stop loss to break even because we entered it at 43.2K. It was such a small trade, but we will be preparing to go into a massive long position if Bitcoin does come down to our support levels, both in the short term and in the macro time frame. So stay tuned for that. And in terms of Ethereum, we have been buying Ethereum at 2.1, 2.2K in spot, and now we can see Ethereum has been trading at almost $2,700. So that's been amazing. We'll get into more detailed Ethereum TA in the next video. So again, stay tuned for that. So that's kind of the rundown on Bitcoin. After we saw the huge run on the Bitcoin price, we saw the dominance rise significantly, hitting 54%. And that's the reason why we're not seeing altcoins have the huge runs that we're expecting. Wait until after the halving, as usually capital flows into Bitcoin first, then into Ethereum, and then into other alts. So that's why I started accumulating Ethereum, but not any other altcoins yet. You know what? I'll give you a sneak peek in the TA. If we do break above $2,600 with a confirmation, I am expecting Ethereum to head to $3,200. That's the next level of major resistance that we may face. So that's kind of my very short TA on it, but I will get into it with more detail in the upcoming weeks as we approach potential spot ETF approvals for Ethereum. And finally speaking, we are within the golden pocket of the Fibonacci retracement. And in every asset class, the golden pocket does tend to provide significant resistance. And if the weekly candle closes like a shooting star and seeing signs of a potential reversal from this level, then we may be expecting the price of Bitcoin to reverse to the 44.9K level. And then if we continue dipping down, we'll see what's what could be happening next, but we'll leave that for future updates. And guys, that concludes our Bitcoin analysis. Going into the breaking news, and by the way, if you would like to be trading Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, don't forget to check out the description of today's video to get up to $68,888 worth in rewards by signing up to Bitflex using this link, and to get up to $30,000 worth in bonuses with Bybit if you sign up to cryptokid.io/Bybit. But the breaking news of today is, of course, the CPI data that has been released at 3.1%, which was higher than the expected 2.9%. And that's been causing both the S&P and Bitcoin to be seeing a price drop. And Matthew Siegel here, chief researcher over at Van Eck, has mentioned that Bitcoin has declined in the past 10 CPI reports after 6 hours of trading activity. And once again, Bitcoin has done the same. So make sure to follow me here. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, because I do post breaking updates and interesting charts a lot earlier than I post my videos. It's at CryptoKid.com. Link is also in the description below. So the CPI has dropped from the previous report, which is at 3.4%, but the expectation for an interest rate drop has been pushed to June from May. And as you guys know, the speculation about the interest rates dropping has been the main driver of the S&P 500 rally, and now it's being pushed to, it was first pushed to March. Well, March was the original one, then we pushed it to May, and now it's sitting at June with the highest probability of a drop sitting on this month. We'll be live streaming all of these FOMCs, so again, make sure to stay tuned on the channel and turn on the notification bell. But this is crazy. I mean, it would have been the first time that we would have seen inflation drop below 3% since March of 2021. And this was just a cool tweet that I posted comparing the purchasing power of the United States dollar and, of course, of Bitcoin. And speaking of the purchasing power of Bitcoin, we have hit all-time highs against the Turkish lira, against the Argentinian peso, and the Japanese yen, and finally the naira, the Nigerian naira. So Bitcoin is actually hitting all-time highs against multiple currencies, and this is incredible. I went into this with a bit more detail on the live stream yesterday, but in countries such as Turkey, which is where I'm from, people do not have many options to save themselves from inflation. The total dollars that are available in Turkey are very little. So if I wanted to convert my Turkish lira and save it in United States dollars, and if it's with a high volume amount, I may not be getting enough dollars that I'm looking for, and the exchange rate isn't the best. It's very volatile and it fluctuates a lot on a daily basis. So the only option I have is to purchase either gold and silver, which is super inconvenient to store and insure. And if I want to keep it in the bank, I would be paying so many interest rates and money to keep it safe and secure, etc. So the best way to save myself from inflation would be by purchasing Bitcoin, since it has the lowest storing fees. It has no storing fees actually, and it's super convenient. And if we compare with gold, I mean, there's so many pluses if we compare it with gold, but the biggest one is that Bitcoin is limited to 21 million Bitcoins, and tomorrow there may be a new gold mine that is discovered somewhere around the world, and that would just add to the gold supply, and that could shift the price of gold heavily. So that's why people in Turkey, for example, they don't have much option other than buying Bitcoin, and that's why in Argentina, in El Salvador, and Turkey, Bitcoin is very much popular. And going over into more bullish news, the SuperTrend, which is a very famous indicator, it fired a buy signal on the monthly time frame. Now, on average, whenever on the monthly time frame the SuperTrend does fire a buy, the returns we get is sitting at 1,210%. So this is interesting. Of course, within the SuperTrend buy, Bitcoin can reverse down, like we saw in 2020. We fell from, we fell all the way down to like $3,000 something, but the SuperTrend was still active. We can see here the max pain point is at like 25K. So if Bitcoin does reverse to 31K, it's still fine. The SuperTrend would be in a buy situation, and this is referring to a macro opportunity where we can hit perhaps $90,000 to $95,000 with this cycle top. So that is incredibly bullish. And this is a chart which I spent a lot of time working on today. And it compares, well, it talks about the total Bitcoin that is held, right? And it's the total active Bitcoin. So it's a bit complicated, but in basic terms, the orange line represents the supply last active over a year ago. So 70% of the total active circulating Bitcoin supply has not been transacting or trading in the markets for over a year. 70%. That equates to 13.7 million Bitcoin. So in terms of how much Bitcoin is actually going around with trading volumes and people sending between each other, that's only 5.8 million Bitcoin. And you can see over here on the chart, you have huge hodling phases and then times where big whales start to sell off and hold less Bitcoin. And we're still in this massive accumulation phase. In every single accumulation phase, after we see it and after its completion, Bitcoin does tend to hit an all-time high. And now you can see in this cycle, the accumulation phase has not stopped yet, meaning Bitcoin has still a long way to go in terms of a price increase towards the upside. And this is, yet again, very bullish, and this links into the Bitcoin spot ETFs. Why? Because BlackRock's IBIT and Fidelity's FBTC alone hold 3% of this remainder 5.8 million Bitcoin. And this is achieved within only 1 month of trading. So look into the macro. I mean, we're going to be seeing incredible buying pressure from these ETFs. We saw $495 million of buying pressure just yesterday, and on Friday we saw $540 million. And if this continues like that, after the halving, where the total new supply of Bitcoin released on a daily basis drops from 900 Bitcoin to 450 Bitcoin, there's going to be a huge supply shock, and based off of fundamental economics, like I mentioned in every single video, that should take the price of Bitcoin a lot higher than where it is today. So again, super bullish. And to end off the video, the final metric that I want to discuss about, it's yet again another on-chain metric, and it talks about, so this is again another complicated one, it's called the UTXO. And what it refers to is basically, let's say I sent you 1 Bitcoin. Now, after I sent you this 1 Bitcoin transaction, the UTXO measures what you do with that afterwards. So there's a transaction of Bitcoin, and now you measure what has been done with that Bitcoin. And here we can see that a total UTXO in profit sits at 97.3%. It's, the abbreviation is unspent transaction output, and that is near the previous all-time high levels. And whenever the UTXO reaches to these levels, then you can see a large correction in the Bitcoin price, and that's why in the short term, we may see that reversal, but in the macro, we look incredibly bullish. So ladies and gents, I hope this video was very informative for you. In summary, no, we're not going to 18K, but of course, nothing in this video is financial advice. We may be seeing a small reversal, but I really do think Bitcoin has enough momentum to keep rising a little bit more this month. Maybe going into the next month, just before the halving, we may see the dip, and then following that, we can reach new all-time highs. But guys and girls, thank you so much for watching this video. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you all in the next video shortly. Take care, guys, and bye-bye.